So the exhibition actually starts right here. So when you come in the door, right, you actually meet the men behind the dolls, and that's kind of me. When I was a kid, right, I used to buy Transformers. I used to buy Mask He-Man, Star Wars, and all that kind of stuff. And there was always sort of this retroness about them. But Barbie, right, somehow has stayed relevant. In the 80s, she was very big gowns and Dynasty, and in the 90s, it was like LA gear and weird headbands and sun visors, and then the 2000s, 2010s, it all became relevant. So I kind of like this perpetual relevance of this particular toy. There is a very traditional Barbie timeline, if that makes sense, like 1959, 2019. And honestly, this kind of story has been told again and again and again. What we sort of settled on was the fact that we should talk about me as a person instead of the doll. It begins in 1984. Most of the 80s dolls are there, and that's really the formative years of I guess, my passion. This one is about me and my grandfather, because this doll was a $50 doll, and 1989 at the time, that's kind of a lot of money. And my grandfather offered to buy her for me, but even as a little boy, I was like, this sounds wrong. So my grandfather wanted to buy her for me, and I was like, I don't know, so I didn't buy her. I actually just got this doll this year, but it reminded me of my granddad, so I've put her in the exhibition. This one was a girlfriend story, so yes, that whole gay thing, not true. In 1998, she moved to Australia to study, and I was here in the army. So I sold this doll for $120 so that I could buy a plane ticket to go to Melbourne to see my girlfriend. We broke up, unfortunately, but later on, much later on in my life, I bought back my $120 doll for $60. So that's why I left a price tag on this doll, because I like serendipity. Big musical fan, and I helped to display the actual costumes of Glinda and Elphaba. And when I did it, I realized that Glinda had safety harnesses behind her to keep her in the bubble. So my personal Glinda doll has safety equipment on her. Elphaba has a clip, because you can hear Glinda clips the cape onto her. There was this series where you can dress a Barbie the way you want to dress it, and they put Barbie by blank. So the first time I did it, it was all my name, Barbie by Jian, because that's predictable shit. And then the second time I did it, I was like, you know what, f it, let's have some fun with this. So I've got Barbie bipolar, Barbie bilingual, and Barbie bisexual. I'm actually really upset that I cannot stand here and tell people these stories by myself, because I think that collecting, right, is not about amassing, it's not about accumulating the traditional stuff, it's really about the stories that come out of it. So something like that, I mean, literally no one's gonna see that, but it made me giggle. You've seen these pictures on the internet, and when you came into the house, it was still a what the kind of moment, because there is this overwhelming feeling, I guess, but also it's not, okay, he's crazy, let's leave. I think it's curated, I like it. In case you realize I don't actually have full sets, for example, because to me, I buy the ones that I like. I travel a lot for business now, so actually that's what these are about. We start at the very beginning, a very good place to start. This toilet paper thing. So I used to be in Sri Lanka for like 2 weeks at a time, and this hotel, Mount Lavinia, was like far in the bowels of Sri Lanka, like in a corner on a cliff. After our meetings in the daytime, from 7 o'clock to like midnight when you sleep, you're like in this huge colonial room, and you're like, now what do I do? Because no public transport, no nothing, right? I started sort of sticking toilet paper to dolls. Like I had a doll with me, and I was like, hey, this is quite nice. I Instagrammed it, and it was like 290 likes or something. And then suddenly I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do this for the rest of this trip. So the hashtag have tissue will travel was sort of something that I just developed on the fly. I don't know how this happened, but people got wind of it, I guess, and they started publishing it. It was all over BuzzFeed, Board Panda, that kind of stuff. Every time I travel, I just do it. And now a local publisher, Marshall Cavendish, has asked me to do a book So I'm like, that is so cool. I'm going to turn 40 in November. And I'm like, milestone, I would like a book. The bad news is that while on Instagram, have tissue will travel is the hashtag, I think that didn't translate into a book name because you actually wouldn't understand it. So right now, the book is called Flushable Fashion, which makes sense, right? It's toilet paper and it flushes.